Welcome back to the world of glitz and glamour. I'm Shailendra Bansilal. Now coming up next, Avashni Vandia caught up with a local author named Hinesh Vithal.
Our special guest today on Eastern Style is Hinesh Vithal. He is joining us to chat to us about his first book that has been self-published. So yes, he is an author, and the name of the book is National Park. It is in fact part of a trilogy. So he's going to tell us about all that and more. Hi Hinesh, and welcome to the show.
Hi Vashi, thank you.
Firstly, congratulations. You're now an author, published your first book. It's amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. I think finally having the final product in your hand, it's unbelievable.
You've published a book, it's out, you're officially an author, and you have a full-time job, and I want to get to the story in a bit. But the fact that you've self-published the book just shows that it's a very difficult industry and it's difficult to get your book published. Tell us about the process.
There's two avenues which you can go through when it comes to publishing itself. So there's a traditional route, which is through your bigger corporates, your big publishing houses like Penguin and Random House. And then there's a self-publishing route. And that seems to have grown in popularity in recent times. So I researched various companies that currently offer self-publishing services. And there are various South African ones as well as international ones. And after sifting through the list, I thought I wanted to go to a South African publisher. So I found one in Durban. I contacted them. I sent through my manuscript, and they said they were more than happy to publish it.
Okay. So you mean from the cover to the font, everything is your idea, your vision?
Absolutely. So just the cover itself, every part they upfront ask you, what would you like your cover to look like? And then you think about it. And it's not as if you just give it to someone else and they come back with an answer. In this process, you say what you want.
Yes.
So the cover itself was my idea, where I wanted the title character being Puggle going out on a night drive. And as you can see, here's a game ranger's vehicle. And he stares outside of the vehicle and he notices lion paw prints leading out into the bush. And that's basically the starting of the story. And as you can see, it is a night drive, so therefore you can see the stars and the moon.
Now the lead character in your book is Raja. I love the name. And you mentioned he's a puggle. Now I don't know what a puggle is, and I asked that question, so maybe I'm a little bit ignorant, but tell us about the inspiration behind the story and the concept, because it's all about animals and their perspective, and that's very interesting.
Start off, Raja is a puggle, as you said, and a puggle is a crossbreed between a beagle and a pug.
Okay.
And it was basically a dog my wife and I were looking at a couple of years ago, so that's how I got introduced to this type of animal. But I never thought of anything much more of it. I went through my schooling career, I went through varsity, I got my honors degree, and still I didn't think much about it until I was out in the Kruger National Park, and we were looking out, and I thought to myself, we come into the park and we watch these animals, but what if these animals were watching us back in return?
Yeah.
And what if they created an entire governing structure which was surrounded by their human visitors?
Yeah.
So I thought that's an interesting idea.
It is, actually.
And then the idea came, so why not a book? Let me see where this takes us. And I said, but how do you introduce a reader to this environment? So I said, you need to have an outsider. So I said, well, who can this outsider be? There has to be another animal. So that's how Raja came into existence. And he actually gets lost in the park. He gets separated from his family. And in the process, he goes into the park. He meets a lion, a wild dog, as well as a giraffe. And these four animals have an adventure where they stumble upon the various conspiracies.
Now, you're in the corporate world, you're married, so you have a family, you have all these responsibilities, and you took time out to actually write a book. And it's not just one book, it's a trilogy. How did you manage to find time to do that and to actually push yourself to that point where you committed to this project and you managed to follow through with it? How did you balance it all?
Yes, well, that is the most difficult aspect of it, was finding the time. Yeah. And I think when you do have a passion, you make sure you find every moment where you can do it. And so it was after hours. I'll come home, I'll spend time with my wife. And then in the evening, when she goes to bed, or if she's busy with something else, then I'll say, okay, here's a moment. So I'll start in the evening. So many evenings were spent writing the novel. And then what I did as well, I would take random days of leave. And then I'll go and sit in a random coffee shop.
Let's hope your employer is not watching. Yes.
Yeah, so random days of leave. And then I'll go sit in a coffee shop and I'll spend the day writing.
And what was the time frame to actually get this book? I mean, it's quite a few pages, it's like 211 or so pages. Yeah. How long did it take you to put it all together? It took
plus minus 6 months. So that's for the first book. And as you mentioned at the start, this is part of a trilogy. Yes. So once I got through the first book, which was after 6 months, I had an idea to say there's much more content to the story. Yes. So let's see where this goes. And I spent an entire year then writing books 2 and 3.
So books 2 and 3 are already written?
They are written.
I did not know this. I actually didn't. Wow, that's amazing. I thought you were going to see what happens with book 1 and then let the others unfold. So book 2 and 3 is done, and now what's the process for those books?
Yeah, so books 2 and 3 are completed. They've been edited as well. And I guess the point of book 1 was more to test the waters, to say, is there an audience for the story? As biased as this is, I think it's a good story.
Yes.
So I want to see if people take on. And if they are interested to see where does it go, then I do plan on publishing books 2 and 3. It is in my hands. So in all honesty, I think for myself, I would like to get it out. So that would probably look at getting it out maybe next year sometime.
What advice do you have for aspiring authors out there who feel like, I've got this talent, but there's just no scope, I don't have money to do this? Because of course you have to put up your own money if it's self-publishing as well. What advice would you give them in terms of your own experience and what you've learned from this journey?
I think when it's your passion, you shouldn't think too much into it further. You know you have a love for writing. Don't think about the cost, don't think about the time. If you do have a passion, it will come.
That's amazing.
So don't stop. Don't stop, really. If it is your dream, it is your passion, don't stop.
And you're living proof of it, because National Park by Hinesh Vithal is out, and everyone can purchase it if you are interested. And of course, you do have a Facebook page as well, so we can get more information
Yes,
there.
you can. So there is a Facebook page as well as a formal website as well.
Well, Hinesh, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and very inspiring as well, because you just proved that you can just do anything you put your mind to if you have the passion for it. So wish you all the very best with National Park and the rest of the trilogy.
Thank you, Vashni, for this opportunity.
That was, of course, author Hinesh Vithal chatting to us about his first book, National Park. It is self-published, and it is part of a trilogy, as we mentioned earlier. So do make sure you get your hands on a copy, support South African authors, and share your thoughts with them as well. It is time now to help you plan your weekend and your social calendar with our Eastern Events Guide.